In other news in Major League Baseball, safe to say we got some big news. The Juan Soto sweepstakes came to an end, and Juan Soto signed with the New York Mets. And so I figured, given the occasion, to join the show to discuss his team signing Juan Soto, winning the Juan Soto sweepstakes with a 15-year, $765 million contract. I figured I might as well welcome this individual back. We only get him a couple times a year, but let's welcome back to the show the host of the All of You podcast, Barry Grant Jr. Barry, this feels dumb to ask, but how are you doing?
Listen, I've only had 1 hour of sleep today, and it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. I'm not tired. I've been happy all day. Doesn't matter what happens at work. No stresses today, man. It's Juan Soto Day. We good. We good on this side. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I've said it. I've been calling it for a year, and it's so good to know when things come to fruition. It's great. How are you, Bryson? Great show.
I appreciate it. No, thank you for coming on. I'm doing well. And listen, I can relate it. I've had takes in my life where it takes a while for it to materialize, but once it comes, the chickens come home to roost. It is an intoxicating feeling, especially for you with your team, the Mets, who overachieved last season, got to the NLCS, took the Dodgers deeper than the crosstown rival Yankees did, and then beat the Yankees to the punch in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Before we get into that, let's show the people that maybe some of the baseball casuals what the Mets are getting. There you go. 934 hits, 285 average, 201 homers, 592 RBIs, four-time All-Star, three-time All-MLB first team, five-time Silver Slugger, and he won the World Series with Washington in 2019. And by the way, you sent me this stat. Alfred put the graphic together. The guys who have we'll just go and put up the graphic. Guys with 200 homers and an on-base percentage over 420 before turning 26. Jimmy Fox, Mickey Mantle, Juan Soto, pretty good players on that list. So, listen, I think my ultimate takeaway from this, Barry, and see what you think, is Steve Cohen was just not going to be outbid. He just wasn't. Listen, this is one of the richest owners in sports, 21 bill. He's going to do whatever he's got to do to put Juan Soto in a New York Mets uniform. What was your takeaway on the signing?
I think the same thing. I mean, if people don't watch my show, please go watch the Old Even podcast. I kind of detailed and laid this out pretty accurately. It's more about Juan Soto was going to get paid. That wasn't a question. It wasn't a fact of, how much he was going to get paid. I said that he was going to be north of $700 million. Even when Ohtani got signed, I said, Soto was going to get more than that. Why? Because the age, the generational talent that he is, I mean, it was just lined up that way. Biggest thing for me was that Yankee fans and even people who are in baseball, he's gonna go ahead and be wowed by the history of the Yankees, and he was there, he took them into the playoffs, blah blah blah. People fail to realize this particular thing. He didn't choose the Yankees. They traded for him. He never said that, hey, I want to go to the Yankees. They made the trade. They went ahead and traded all their big-time prospects. They went all in, kind of, because they should have did more at the deadline because they were a little bit confident that he was just going to, just buy into the Yankee lore and all of that stuff. He chose the Mets over the Yankees because that's where he wanted to go. This is the first time that he actually got to choose where he wanted to play baseball. And he laid out everything. Future, projection 10 years out, owner, front office, players, amenities, everything that you can be able to look at, farm system. The Mets are plus in all of those categories that the Yankees don't have. Right now, all the Yankees have is history. They have Aaron Judge. Respect. Outside of that, there is nothing right now. Where, modern players, I said it on my show and people were like, he doesn't give a shit about Mickey Mantle. He doesn't care about all those. He doesn't care about Babe Ruth. He probably never even seen any stats from Babe Ruth. That's not who he grew up idolizing. He grew up idolizing David Ortiz. He heard about Barry Bonds. He's seen Ken Griffey Jr., I'm sure, and saw tapes. These are the players that Manny Ramirez, the list goes on, right? These are the players that he sees and he idolizes. That Yankee Lord doesn't mean nothing to him. He was there, did his thing, had a career year, but now he finally got to choose where he wanted to go. That contract yesterday, or the comparisons between the two deals, just showed you that the Yankees put together a very good offer. That was a great offer. You can't knock Hal or Cashman for that. But what that told me is that the Yankees were the ones that had to overbid for him to even think about going to the Yankees. All the Mets had to do was just be the Mets. If they were where he wanted to be in regards to contract, he was going to sign there regardless. I told people it didn't matter if the Blue Jays came with 850. He wasn't going there. Yeah, no. It didn't matter if the Dodgers came with 710. He wasn't going there. He wanted to be a Met. And I think that this was something that was in the works for a very, very long time, not just this year. I think Juan Soto wanted to be a Met for a very long time, and he showed it last night.
He did, and I remember talking to you on text. I feel like a half hour before the news broke about how Steve Cohen was going to offer $800 million if push come to shove. Like it was it was going to eventually materialize to that. Got a couple comments from my guy Patrick Brown. Shout out to Patrick. He says Juan Soto's seen the Mets' future and wanted to be a part of it. He's the guy and the king of Queens. Mets players and fans have fun. You can see the difference. Always this very true in both fan bases. No, again, and by the way, you kind of hit on it, and I've talked about it so long. Is that there's an elitism with the New York Yankees as it relates to, the stadium, which, by the way, is freaking impossible to get it into. It's brutal. The whole, I mean, like you said, guys now don't care about the history. Barry, there are high schoolers alive today who have never witnessed a Yankees championship. Like, Correct. We have to remember how long ago it's been. They've won one in the last 2 decades. Been to two in the last, same distance of time. So I think it is I think if that is going to the primary aspect of your recruiting pitch, you're going to do yourself a disservice and kind of turn the player off to that. And right now, you look at the Yankees right now. I mean, I did the radio show, Triple Option. Shout out to my guy Asher Moore, and he said I think there's a shot the Yankees miss the playoffs this upcoming season. They missed it when Juan Soto was gone the year before. Okay, you look at that lineup top to bottom. Obviously, the greatness of Aaron Judge prior to October, but Jazz Chisholm, LeMahieu, like good players. I'm not going to knock these guys, but that ain't a World Series lineup, Barry.
No, it isn't. And I mean, look, now they're going to have to pivot, and maybe try to overpay for a Pete Alonso. They're probably going to have to overpay for a Santander. They're going to have to overpay for a Bregman. All of these guys that they're trying to now, try to fill this roster out because they have holes. Even if they would have signed Juan Soto, does Hal go back into the pockets to try to fill holes? This is the difference between the Yankees and the Mets. Yeah, the Yankees make the most revenue out of any team in baseball, but their pockets are not that large. They have to be a little bit more creative in regards to how they try to put their roster together. So, they have a lot of soul searching to do. And the biggest thing for me is I really do think that in a couple of years, they're going to have to figure out a way or maybe part ways with Brian Cashman and try to go get somebody younger, because I think it's just time. He's just this old establishment that it just doesn't work anymore. How he views the game just doesn't work. And David Stearns kind of reminds me of Theo Epstein. And when you have a guy like that is forward-thinking, young, knows his stuff, that's a dangerous combination to have owner, GM or president, and then manager. That's the triple threat right there, and they have that. And there's not a lot of teams in baseball that have that, and that's why the Mets projecting out for the next decade, they're going to be one of the best teams in baseball.
They are. No, it feels like, obviously, you can't count out the Philadelphia Phillies, but again, you guys beat them without Juan Soto.
Braves,
Braves, you never, ever count out Atlanta. They're well run. But I'll tell you, last point on the Yankees, I could argue one of the things that turned Juan Soto off, sure, they made the World Series, but Barry, second half of the year since mid-June, they were an average baseball team. Like,
Bad.
I mean, I remember I forget what the numbers were, but other than home runs, RBIs, they were at or near the bottom in some of the key major stats. So, like, it's like you said, it's not a well-rounded team. But yeah, as for the Mets, we going to go and call it 2025 champions, or we going to go ahead and
No, listen, I am a very, very realistic fan. I am not one of those guys that are going to jump out the window and say that. But I will say that this is the inflection point, and this is how you change the narrative and change the direction of your franchise. When you make moves like this, you say to the league, we're not the same old Mets anymore. Even the fan base, there's a big part of this Met fan base that still has Wilpon PTSD. Oh, well, if we give Soto all of this money, well, what are we going to do? There's no cap. We're not penny pinching. This is not the Wilpons telling Steve Phillips to lie to the public and say, hey, A-Rod asked for all of this stuff so we can be able to look like, we did all we can to go get A-Rod. This is not that. This is an owner that says, I'm not messing around. I want to build a winner. I want to make sure that I'm building up this area of Flushing, putting casinos. He has that on deck right now. There's so much going on with the Mets that this is going to be the place to be. I'm telling you, man, like outside of the Yankees, they'll still be the Yankees at some point, right?
Sure.
But the Mets are now going to be the team in New York that people say, you know what? I like the way it's run. I like how the players are respected. I like the way they take care of the players, and they have a lot of fun over there, and you can get paid. I'm going there. And it's never been that in my lifetime. So for me to be able to see that come to fruition for the last 4 years, I've been waiting for this my whole life. That I've never hated the Yankees establishment. It's the fans I hate. But the Yankee establishment, in regards to what George Steinbrenner built, I respected that because he was a guy that said, there's no player I'm not going to go get, and I will pay whatever I have to go keep my team a winner. And I respected that. And I always envied that as a Met fan. I don't have to be envious anymore because I have the guy that will be able to do that for our franchise.
I think one of the last parts you mentioned, I think, is an important one. And again, something else that appealed to Juan Soto, that 765 didn't hurt matters.
Didn't hurt.
It didn't hurt is the fun aspect of it, right? Like when you, I remember someone put a side-by-side of Yankee Stadium in the playoffs, by the way, and Citi Field. It might as well have been a double-A game in May and Game 7 of the World Series. Like the atmosphere and energy was just different. So yeah, kudos to you guys on getting Juan Soto. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.